Hello everyone, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu news analysis. So today is 10th June 2024 and we have few very important articles for our discussion. So today's discussion is going to be a very interesting discussion because all four articles that we are going to discuss are very important for both prelims and mains examination. So therefore your close attention is very important for all these articles that we are going to discuss. And before discussing them, you all knew that I have given one practice question yesterday. So the question was, World Health Organization's publication is also known as World Health Organization Blue Books is related to which of the following? So these blue books of World Health Organizations actually related to which of the following options? So option A, mental health, option B, cancer, option C, air pollution, and option D, hepatitis. So the correct answer for this question is option B. It is with respect to cancer. World Health Organization's blue books are related to cancer, right? So we'll briefly understand what exactly are these World Health Organization's blue books. So in fact, World Health Organization's classification of tumors group. In fact, World Health Organization itself, World Health Organization, there is an institution called IARC and classification of tumors group, which is also part of the World Health Organization. And this classification of tumors group of WHO is actually responsible for the publication of tumors series. Okay, so this is also known as WHO Tumors series, or it is also known as WHO Blue Books. So WHO's blue books are related to tumors or otherwise called as cancer. And currently World Health Organization has published the 5th edition of these blue books, and it continues to be published in print as WHO Blue Books, and they are related to the cancer. So you just remember this. So WHO blue books are related to the cancer or tumors. Now today I've given you one important practice question for prelims. The question is about the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. Now the Indo-Pacific as a geostrategic construct is very important in recent times because it has been gaining a lot of prominence. And in fact, a lot of countries have been stepping up their engagement with India because of the growing prominence of the Indo-Pacific region. I hope all of you knew about this Indo-Pacific region. So this Indo-Pacific region spans from the Western Western American coast, so that is Eastern Pacific, to Western Indian Ocean. So this vast ocean is part of the Indo-Pacific region. So in order to promote the trade and commerce and cooperation connectivity between all those countries which are part of this Indo-Pacific region, a new grouping was emerged, that is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. So the question is, consider the following statements and which of the above statements are member countries or part of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. So the options or the countries are United States, Vietnam, Thailand, India, and Republic of Korea. Now it is very important for you to know about this Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity and also get to know about all the countries which are part of this particular economic organization, and try to answer this question in the comment section. And let's start our discussion by understanding about the first past post system and the proportional representation. Now if you look at India's election system or India's election machinery, now the first past the post system is a very common form of electoral or election method that is being used in India whenever we elect candidates for assembly and whenever we elect candidates for the Lok Sabha. However, with respect to election of president and election of vice president and election to the Rajya Sabha and even election to the state legislative councils, we very often see this proportional representation. Now the first past the post system actually means that whoever gets the majority votes, so he or she would be declared elected, and that is the first past the post system. For example, imagine that there are 100 voters and one candidate gets 49 and another candidate gets 50 votes and one vote is invalid. So the candidate who gets 50 votes would be declared elected under this first past the post system. In Lok Sabha elections and state legislative assembly elections, we generally following the first past the post system. But now the main question is, what about the voters, 49% of the voters who have voted another candidate? So who it is complete neglect of the concerns or the voice of the 49% of the population who elected a candidate who is otherwise declared not elected in this first past the post system. So however, in order to address the demerits of the first past the post system, the proportional representation is being introduced. Now proportional representation actually means that, for example, in an electorate, one candidate gets 50% of votes and another candidate gets 49% of the votes, and one vote is, or 1% of the votes are invalid. Now in this case, imagine that this is political party A and this is political party B, and here no one is marginalized or no one is neglected. Party A would get seats as per their vote share and party B also gets their seats as per the vote share. That is the proportional representation. Okay, so allocation of seats as per the proportion of votes that they've get, or they've got. So that is the basic difference between first past the post system and proportional representation system. Now understand the context of this, why it is given here. We all knew that recently 18th Lok Sabha polls were conducted. Okay, so 18th general election polls were recently held and the results were also announced. So therefore, in recent Lok Sabha elections, the National Democratic Alliance has emerged as a leading alliance and it has formed the government with the majority of seats. So even though the BJP, which is the key party, or which is at the center of NDA coalition, has not got enough majority to form the government, but NDA as of now, including all the regional parties, has got the clear majority and it is going to form the government. However, the opposition INDIA bloc, so it is very popularly known as INDIA bloc. So this opposition INDIA bloc has also got a significant presence in the parliament in this 18th Lok Sabha polls. So however, despite the collective vote of the opposition, so a total vote share of this opposition, the regional parties and independents did not win many seats. Okay, so despite having a lot of vote share in the total election, but if you look at the number of seats that they have got, they are comparatively lesser, and that is where it is it is made clear that we must adopt this proportional representation instead of simply going for after the first past the post system. Now what is the first past post system? As I have already clearly explained about this first past the post system, so this is a voting system and it is used in Lok Sabha and legislative assembly elections. Very clear about that, and there's no doubt about that. Now this first past post system is also called with another name, that is a simple majority system. So you get a simple majority, even one vote, then your opponent, you will be declared elected. So that is why it is also known as the simple majority system. Now in this first past the post system, the candidate with majority of votes, a candidate with the most votes in a constituency, he will be declared elected regardless of whether they have majority or not. So in fact, in the first past the post system, there is no need for any clear majority. right? So there is no need for any clear majority. Imagine that there are 100 voters, and even out of 100 voters, only 50 voters cast their vote, and out of 50 voters, 10 votes are invalid and 40 votes are valid, and one candidate gets around 21, and another candidate gets around 19. This candidate who gets 21 would declared elected. So that is the first past the post system, where majority is not required. So why there is a less participation in the electoral process to elect candidates with respect to the first past the post system in this example is that maybe the candidates that were candidates who were contesting in a particular constituency, maybe they're not good. Maybe the political parties have not chosen a good candidates, and because of that reason voters are not interested to cast their vote. And since there is no majority is required in the first past the post system, so whoever gets most of the seats, they declared elected. However, it holds certain advantages. Now, what are those advantages? Now, it is very simple. The first past post system, it is not too complex. It is very simple. And a society where a lot of people still do not have the proper awareness about the electoral process, and in order to sustain and in order to strengthen democracy in India, so it is still considered as a feasible method of voting, and it is also suitable for a large countries and diverse countries with significant levels of poverty and illiteracy. So it is considered as a feasible method. And in fact, the first past the post system also provides stability to the government, because so there is a chance that a stable government would be established, right? So as winning party coalition can have the majority in the legislature without winning the majority of the votes. So even if they don't get the majority of votes, they would have majority in the legislature, and that would ensure the stability of the party in power. Now, political stability is very, very important for any country, right? So, however, there are certain issues with respect to the first past the post system. So, what are those issues? So, in fact, this first past post system may lead to over or under representation of the political parties compared to the total vote share, right? So, as I've already told you that the political parties or the candidates, even getting lesser vote share, they will be declared elected. So that is against the democratic ethos. But what about the concerns, the voice of the people and the candidates who have get almost equal number of votes? That is being neglected in a democracy. So he'll be declared as loser. So apart from that, in some cases, a party with a minority of votes can still win a majority of the seats, and that is also a concern with respect to the first past the post system. So, however, there are certain alternatives to this first past post system. Now, what are those alternatives? The first important alternative here is that the proportional representation system. Now, what exactly is this proportional representation system, which is being followed in the Rajya Sabha elections, elections of president, vice president, and state legislative councils? So, it ensures the representation of parties based on the vote share. For example, imagine that in a parliament, if we have adopted this proportional representation, if BJP gets 38% of the total votes, then BJP would be given 38% of the seats in the parliament. And if Congress gets a very same 25 or 28% of these votes, so Congress would also be given the same number of seats in the parliament, right? So that is how this proportional representation actually works here. And after that, there is also a mixed member proportional representation. It is also known as MMPR, mixed member proportional representation, right? So this mixed member proportional representation system actually combines the key features of the first past the post system with the proportional representation. So thereby it provides stability that comes from the first past the post system, and also it ensures the proportional representation. Okay, so it is very often considered as an ideal method to implement. And in fact, so it commonly uses the party list proportional representation system. So in this case, the voters who are going to choose the representatives, they actually vote a political party but not a candidate. Parties are then allocated seats in legislative bodies based on their overall vote share. So what exactly is this vote share? And according to their vote share, so they will be given number of seats. So however, there is a minimum threshold around 3 to 5% of votes for party to qualify for the first seats. For example, if a party gets less than 5% of the seats, so that particular party will not be given any seats. Okay, so there is a threshold also here. And when we talk about the implementation of this mixed member parties proportional representation in India, so if it is implemented in India, the proportional representation would ideally operate at each state and union territory level, because we have a federal setup, right? So we have a federal form of government. It could operate at the union territory level and state level. And when we talk about the international practices of this proportional representation or mixed member proportional representation, there are some countries like Germany, New Zealand, so they actually use this mixed member proportional representation. So what are the advantages of mixed member proportional representation? So firstly, it provides political stability. So that is very important for the country, and at the same time, it also ensures the proportional representation. The political party gets seats as a proportion of their total votes. So apart from that, you can also go through the comparison between both the proportional representation and first past the post system. So the next a very important article is about the demand for Bill Pradesh. See, when you are reading about the tribes, major tribes in India, so you may have come across this Bill tribe also is one of the major tribe of central India. Right. So now Bills are a tribal group and they are demanding, a separate state. So that is Bill Pradesh. Now we'll understand what exactly is this Bill Pradesh and what is their demand about this. So the demand for Bill Pradesh. So the Bill Pradesh is idea of creating a new state for the Bill tribal community who are living in Central Asia in general. When we talk about particular Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so the Bill Pradesh is a state, a state demand from the Bill tribe. Now when we talk about the Bills, so Bills are one of the oldest and second largest tribal group, and they actually known for their expertise in archery. Okay, so one thing that you have to understand that Bills are one of the India's oldest and second largest tribal groups. Okay, so apart from that, when we talk about the origin of name Bill, so how it has originated, so it is generally believed that the name Bill has originated from a Dravidian word. Okay, so it is generally believed that meaning of the bill is bow and arrow. As I've already told you that this Bill tribe is known for their expertise in archery. So the meaning of this bill is bow and arrow. So in fact, the community is also known as Dhanush Purush of India for having an excellent knowledge of Dhanush. So Dhanush in the sense that is a bow. Okay, so since they have an excellent knowledge with respect to Dhanush or bow and arrow, they are known as Dhanush Purush of India. And in fact, when we talk about the location of this Bill tribe, they mostly located in 3 states including Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and even Maharashtra. So some of these Bill tribes are also migrating to other parts in search of job and other opportunities. Now what exactly is this Bill Pradesh and what was their demand? The demand is that all the regions which are part of these different states can be included to create one single Bill Pradesh. Okay, so this Bill Pradesh is a proposed state and which is aimed at addressing the socio-economic and cultural needs of Bill tribal community. So it is generally believed that the Bill tribes have been facing acute social, economic and political backwardness, and tribal people also have their own culture, their own customs. So it is also believed that the state governments have not extending enough protection to their own culture and customs, and therefore they are been demanding a separate state so that they can improve their lives and livelihoods, and they can also protect and conserve their respective cultures and customs. So that is one reason that people have been demanding the Bill Pradesh. Okay, so as I have already told you that the Bill Pradesh generally included states from different regions from different states. For example, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. So under which constitution bill tribal communities have been demanding this Bill Pradesh? So they have been demanding to carve out a separate state should be based on Article 244 clause 1 of the Constitution of India. Under this particular article, the Bill tribes have been demanding the separate Bill Pradesh. Now, why they have been demanding this Bill Pradesh? So what was the reason that they want this Bill Pradesh? So when we talk about these tribal communities called Bills who live in Central Asia, so they have been facing a number of socio-economic challenges, and they are also very often known as marginalized sections of the society, backward sections of the society. So there is no doubt that the Bill tribes have a rich cultural heritage. So they have a rich cultural heritage. Even though they have a rich cultural heritage, they have their own cultures, customs. It is they very often believe that they are being neglected in the development plans of the state that they inhabit, or in the state that they have been living, because they are now fragmented. They are part of different states, and it is also believed that those states are not taking care of the development of the Bill tribe. So the demand for this Bill Pradesh stems from the desire to have more focused attention towards their needs and the development. And in fact, when we talk about this Bill Pradesh, this demand of creating a separate Bill state was created or raised first by Govind Guru. Okay, so here the Govind Guru was a social reformer and spiritual leader, and he started demanding this Bill Pradesh after one tragic incident of Mangar massacre 1913. So however, the governments have been implementing number of schemes and initiatives for the development and for the improvement of the tribal people. For example, a tribal sub plan would be implemented to improve infrastructure in those tribal areas. So Forest Rights Act, reservation policies were brought in so that these policies can address the tribal issues in an adequate manner. However, despite all these initiatives that the government has been launching, still tribal communities feel that they are being alienated and they are being marginalized. So because of all these reasons, the Bill tribes have been demanding a separate state, so that the unique challenges that they have been facing would be addressed once they have achieved this separate state of Bill Pradesh. So that is with respect to the Bill Pradesh. Now we'll try to understand some government initiatives launched in this regard to address or to prevent the alienation of tribal communities or any backward sections of the society. Now we all knew that scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes have been given the reservation policies. So to correct the historical injustice that they have gone through over a period of last several years. Now in India, the reservation policies are actually applicable in education and employment, because when we talk about reservation, the constitution has specifically recognized the economic, educational and social backwardness, but not economic backwardness. So therefore, taking inspiration from the constitution and to do justice in terms of through affirmative action, a number of schemes and policies were launched to uplift these tribal communities, particularly communities like Bills. So they include Tribal Subplan, Forest Rights Act, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and Integrated Child Development Services and Midday Meal Scheme. So these are very, very important programs for the upliftment of the tribal communities. And after that, in 1996 also there was another important legislation passed by the parliament. So that is to extend the self-governance to these tribal areas. So that is Panchayat extension to scheduled areas of 1996. Now it provides a greater autonomy, self-rule, democratic decentralization. Benefits would be extended to these tribal areas and further improve their living standards, right? And also improve their participation in the overall governance process. And after that, in fact, there are a number of constitutional measures also. For example, protection of tribal interests through 5th schedule areas under Article 244 of the Constitution. Okay, so these are some of the initiatives that are being launched by the governments over a period of last several decades to address the alienation, marginalization of the tribal communities. So the next very important editorial is with respect to settling trade disputes, specifically between India and USA. So because with respect to India and USA trade relations, we have a number of disputes at the World Trade Organizations. However, it is a positive movement in recent times, a positive step in recent times, that we have been trying to settle those issues, settle those disputes through negotiations. Okay, so that is particularly a welcome aspect here. Okay, now when we talk about the context of this particular editorial, the context is that India and US have actually managed to settle 7 long-standing trade disputes at the World Trade Organization. So it is believed that since last several years, we have long-standing disputes with the USA, particularly with respect to trade. So those there are 7 disputes, but recently we have managed to settle 7 long-standing disputes at the World Trade Organization. So when US and India have successfully settled all these trade disputes, it actually shows the power of diplomacy in resolving these trade frictions, the potential of diplomacy, how diplomacy can actually play a very important role in settling the trade disputes between two different countries and further step up the trade, commerce and connectivity. Okay. Now, first important dispute between India and US is the poultry dispute. Okay, so this particular poultry dispute was started by the US in 2012. Okay, so US has alleged that India has been imposing restrictions on poultry product imports. Okay, why India has been imposing restrictions on import of these poultry products? Because of this avian influenza H5N1 that we have recently discussed, and avian influenza. Because of avian influenza concerns, India has been imposing a lot of restrictions on poultry product imports from other countries, particularly USA. Okay, so that was the origin of this particular dispute with respect to poultry. However, how these disputes are being resolved over a period of time. Now, after doing a decade of negotiations, so both India and US have reached a mutually agreed solution on this. Okay, so through diplomacy and negotiation, they have agreed to a mutually agreed solution and withdrawing their respective pending WTO cases. Whatever cases which are pending with the WTO, they are settled through diplomacy, and they have withdrawn those cases. And as part of the settlement between India and the USA, so India dodged a yearly 450 million claim and agreed to reduce tariffs on number of products. So this will be a win-win situation for both these countries. Now they do not have any trade dispute with respect to the poultry products at WTO, and it will not also hamper the trade between both the countries. So they have understood each other's concerns and they try to resolve those conflicts or concerns. Now, what is the significance of resolution of such conflicts through diplomacy by two different countries? And in fact, not the most economically significant dispute for India. However, when we talk about the resolution of such disputes are very, very important from the Indian perspective, because it is considered as a diplomatic breakthrough, and that further enhances the understanding between two different countries. And when they are able to settle disputes through diplomacy and through negotiation, so that will also significantly enhances the investor confidence, and investor confidence is very important in this context. So therefore it actually demonstrates that a complicated domestic, despite having domestic compulsions from US side also and from the Indian side also, two major trading partners, if they have determined to settle the dispute, or they are determined to resolve the sensitive trade matters, so they can settle them through diplomatic channels, negotiations, or any other means. Okay, so not having a conflict would actually benefit those two countries to further enhance the trade. So however, we need to understand the broader implications for international trade with respect to this. So what will be the broader implications for international trade on a peaceful settlement of disputes or conflicts? Now, first and foremost, these amicable resolutions or successful settlement of multiple disputes between India and US, it actually showcasing the potential to settle any other future disputes if they arise. So that further increases the investor confidence. Okay, so even if there is a complex and contentious cases or disputes between these two countries, they can settle those issues in an amicable manner. And therefore it has been highlighting the benefits of prioritizing negotiations over litigation. Now, litigation in the sense that when we file a case in WTO with respect to any other country, that could be a litigation. So these litigations are long standing, and we cannot resolve such litigations in a very less time frame. However, it takes a lot of time. So on the other hand, when we prioritized resolution of these disputes through negotiation, they can be resolved at a much faster pace, and that is actually a win-win situation, mutually beneficial negotiating processes. So after that, we need to understand the multilateral versus bilateral approaches with respect to these trade disputes. And in fact, if you look at the World Trade Organizations, the appellate body for settling the disputes between different countries, so in fact it is non-functional. It is said that it is largely non-functional since 2019. So because of the non-functional nature of this appellate body with WTO, now countries have been looking for the out-of-box solutions so that they can settle these trade disputes, and that could further give an impetus to the trade and commerce. And this particular settlement between India and US have been illustrating that the viability of diplomatic efforts within the framework of a multilateral litigation. So it is not just an example for India and US, but any other countries who are part of this WTO, they can settle these trade disputes in an amicable manner. And apart from that, so those settlement of trade disputes in an amicable manner between two different parties, that could provide a stable trade environment also. So the resolution of disputes actually contribute to a more stable and international trade environment, and that would reduces the likelihood of prolonged conflicts and promoting smoother economic relations between the trading partners. Okay, so these things are very, very important with respect to the international trade, and how it has actually helped India and US to settle the existing trade disputes through negotiation instead of adopting litigation as a method. Now next important is about the boost to green ammonia production, or we can also say that green hydrogen or green ammonium production. Now how it is very important as a renewable source of energy, and it is also green in nature. So India disproportionately dependent on fossil fuels for its energy needs, to meet its energy needs or to meet its energy security. Now in this context, when we talk about the energy security, it is very important that we must meet the energy security or growing energy demands from the renewable fuels. because when we burn fossil fuels, they release CO2 or any other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and that has been further increasing the global warming and leading to the climate change. Now in this case, so when we use these renewable fuels, mainly the green hydrogen, so that could significantly reduces, or that will not come with any greenhouse gas emissions. So that is important here. So since it doesn't release any greenhouse gas emission, there will be no new addition of carbon into the atmosphere, and we can control the levels of greenhouse gases, climate change, global warming, and at the same time we will be able to meet our ambitious targets that were specifically mentioned in initiatives like Panchamrit program and common but differentiated responsibilities under COP, climate change framework, etc. Now context is that India has taken a crucial step, a very important step towards creation of the green hydrogen and its derivatives in the country. Now why India has taken such a crucial step? Understand that it is very important that we gradually and rapidly make a transition towards the renewables. And in fact, the Solar Energy Corporation of India has recently issued a request for selection of green ammonia producers for the production of this green ammonia. So in India, under this strategic intervention for green hydrogen transition, so that is SITE program. So on left side you can see green hydrogen mission, its objectives and aims of this green hydrogen mission. Now for example, when we talk about the green hydrogen mission, so it aims making India a leading producer and supplier of green hydrogen in the world, and it also supports the research and development projects and the development of indigenous manufacturing capabilities, and at the same time reduction of dependence on imported fossil fuels and feedstock. So these are some of the objectives of the National Green Hydrogen Mission. Now what are the implications for India's energy sector if we follow this green hydrogen mission? So first and foremost, we need to understand the environmental benefits of this National Green Hydrogen Mission or production of green ammonia. So in fact, the production of green ammonia actually holds a lot of potential, a lot of promise for India's energy sector. By excessively using these renewable energy resources for ammonia production, the country can significantly reduce its carbon footprint and also mitigate the environmental degradation as well. Right? For example, when we burn fossil fuels, they release carbon into the environment, and that would result in global warming and climate change. So therefore, in this context, we must mitigate the environmental degradation. And after that, we need to think about the energy security and developmental side also. So energy security and development is very, very important in this context. And since disproportionately depending on fossil fuels, we cannot ensure energy security, and that is not sustainable also in the longer term. So therefore, we must focus on the renewable sources of energy. So that is a sustainable way of ensuring energy security, and that could also ensures development. Now when we adopt these green hydrogen technologies, so it enhances the energy security and it also fosters the economic growth. There will be no compromise on the economic growth when we have adopted the green hydrogen, and when it gives a boost to the economic growth, it creates job, and it also leads to the technology upgradation and technology development, and that is how we can achieve the objective of National Green Hydrogen Mission. So that is making India the leader of green hydrogen production. So it is also one of the objectives that India should emerge as a leader in the production of green hydrogen or in the renewables sector. And India has also been making a rapid strides towards achieving this goal. So therefore, we must prioritize the production of green ammonia and other clean energy derivatives. So if we focus more on the clean energy sources, India could easily become a global leader in the clean energy transition, and we will be able to achieve all our targets in a very near future. Now, when we talk about India's position in an ammonia market at the global level, so India, in fact, positioned itself as a key player in the renewable ammonia production. So India is actually known as the key player in the renewable ammonia production. So India as of now produces around 5 million metric tons of renewable energy by 2030. And in fact, India also secure a 10% share of global trade. That time underscores its commitment to the renewable energy. And as I've already told you that India has been making a rapid progress and rapid transition towards the renewable energies. However, it is not free from the challenges. It is also facing a lot of challenges. For example, India boasts nearly 100 renewable or low carbon hydrogen projects as of now. So they have the combined capacity of 7.85 million metric tons. However, the challenge lies in finding a market. Where do we find a market? Because market is also important to emerge as a leader in renewable energy production. So where do we get this market? Okay. And after that, there are certain advantages also for India. So what are those advantages? So despite having a lot of challenges, India's renewable hydrogen or ammonia is expected to remain most competitive globally due to its cost advantages. Now, at the global level, India is generally known as a country with a low cost production, and even space sector also we are very often known for low cost space launches. Right, so India's green hydrogen production is most competitive because of the cost advantages that we already have. And National Green Hydrogen Mission 2023 actually waives interstate transmission charges for the renewable energy, and that is a positive news to hear about the green hydrogen production. And the governments have also been announcing these substantial subsidies, and they actually play a pivotal role in achieving the desired production levels of green hydrogen. However, so when we talk about the India's renewable energy sector, so it actually benefits from various incentives. So the various incentives including cheap power, subsidies, low cost loans, and ready availability of land, which is being provided by both central and state governments. So apart from that, India also holds a lot of significant transport cost advantage when we compare it with Middle East in supplying to North Asia, further enhancing the competitiveness India as a leader in green hydrogen production. Now, what exactly is the SITE program? So this is a program of National Green Hydrogen Mission, which is under National Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And this particular program aims to propel India towards self-reliance in clean energy through the production of green hydrogen and its derivatives. Right, so it is being implemented by Solar Energy Corporation of India. So that is the SITE program, and that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.